Hey guys, welcome to. I decided this is going to be 5.5.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay. It's gonna be 5.5.
5.5 because this is going to be a decently short podcast and it's the continuation of Victor's book. So if you want to talk about that.
But we're still on Enlightenment now. The case for humanism, reason, and science. The book still talks about the same concepts, but now we'll more talk about peace, equal rights, and existential threats to humanity and human progress. What do you gotta say about this summary, those three topics? Do they inspire you anything?
Yeah, sure, but I haven't read this book and I want to hear what you have to say about it because these can be considered as extremely controversial topics and at the same time very interesting topics and very deep topics and all that stuff. So.
Yeah, they are, and overall, to say in the same way as the first part of the book, it talks about how we're doing better. So first of all, about peace, it gives a nice statistic. Before the century before Paris Peace Accords,
Yeah.
on average, there was 11 annexation of Crimea per year. It emphasizes the fact that nowadays we give a lot of attention to wars like the Crimea annexation, which was a big thing and still is
Because of the Black Sea.
because of the Black Sea and everything. But at the same time, on average in the world, there was the equivalent of 11 annexations of Crimea per year, which paints a picture of a society which is at war pretty much all the time. And it talks about the fact that war, and I don't know if you agree with that, but war is now seen as a really bad thing, but at the time it was normalized. So, do you consider we still see war as a really bad thing or not?
I think it's because of many different things. First of all, wars used to last a lot longer. So they used to become part of someone's life. You could be born in a war and still be part of the same war 30 years after. The
Which
30-year war.
Yeah, fucked up. And you used to die at 35, so...
How long did the Napoleonic Wars last?
Napoleonic was really,
15?
really... Yeah, 15.
15 years. But
less than 15, I think.
15 years. The Ukraine war today is considered undeniably really, really, really long.
Yeah.
You could be born...
And it's been, 2
and
years?
You're 15 and the war is still continuing or just ends. So it became part of their society, one. Number two, the people living in the war would suffer, so arguably they would hate it. But people from the outside wouldn't really care much because they had no way of being exposed to it. Nowadays we have things we have the media, which just straight away showcases it to you and you see the horrific acts that are being made. Then you have things like...
So you think this gives more importance to the war? The fact that the media display it and that we're able to see what's going on?
There's two ways to look at it, but I think it's a sword that is has sides of two.
Mm-hmm.
But inevitably, it's better than it is worse, I think.
Okay. And the thing is that, it talks about the fact that now war is illegal, in the international sense.
Yeah, okay.
And what's funny is that the reason the US has as much states as they have, I think we already talked about that. In 1846, they went to war with Mexico just because of some debt.
Yeah.
You don't pay me back, let's go to fucking war. And now Louisiana and a lot of states are a part of the territory that Mexico had at that time. So wars were really normalized.
But I think it's also because today the world is much more globalized. You risk losing alliances, you risk losing trade, you risk losing... I think genuinely, if that wasn't the case, we would have way more wars. Russia being sanctioned is probably a real reason to why they still haven't went for Poland or whatever.
Yeah.
Or excluding NATO.
That makes sense, yeah. I think inter connection.
We're dependent on each other, so it makes sense not to fuck each other over. Because you actually end up losing out. Before, no, you didn't lose out. You actually gained.
And that's why I think it's a controversial take nowadays, but that's why the book says that globalization is both the main reason for peace and both the main reason for ending poverty. And a lot of people are against that idea of globalization solves these issues because X, Y, Z. But actually, the reason for which China is way less poor than it was 30 years ago is because of US imports, because of European imports, that transition of money that just goes and flows pretty much everywhere in the world is a reason of escaping poverty. I don't know.
All the big countries are holding each other's debt. They all owe each other. They all have a... You can't. One fucks up, the other one fucks up too. But they can't because they're both too big to fail. So like when it comes to China and America, I think they're
Yeah.
very closely attached. So yeah, no, it's interdependence. It's things like media. It
And
doesn't
that's-
even matter if it's war. I mean, the Me Too
Yeah.
movement. We had a
Yeah.
Me Too movement, which was
Yeah.
just, and then bow.
I think it's probably one of the reasons also why Taiwan is still like free, I would
100%.
guess, because no interdependence. China number one, they go for it. Yeah. The book then talks about terrorism
Yes.
and how statistically it is irrelevant. And it's not something that causes lots of death nor suffering. And it's really interesting to look at it that way because I think it is an instrument of terror, partly because of the media.
Yeah.
But to be fair, like to analyze it, terrorism is not strategic. You don't hurt a nation by like bombing yourself in the middle of the street.
You don't, but you can cause psychological fear within the nation.
Yeah, psychological
Undeniable,
fear.
like, they can be afraid.
But that psychological fear is not really justified.
Sometimes it's just fuel for America to go and absolutely destroy you.
Yeah.
And sometimes it actually like it causes fear, and sometimes things such as treaties prevent you from actually doing anything about it. So you just have a freaked out nation who can't do anything
Yeah,
about
but
it.
it is, I would say, impractical to be freaked out by, okay, maybe let's say, like in France, 150 deaths we had in 2015, which is enormous. But you still had more chances to die from like the bite of a bee
Yeah.
on average from terrorism in the Western countries than terrorism, you know? And also it talks about the fact that tourism is kind of a sign that the world is peaceful because it's not strategic at all. It's like just killing random people and being in the middle of the street and like, listen to me, look at what I have to say. It's a message, but it's not strategic at all.
It's a message to the other people, but I feel like in some cases it can also be a sort of come together movement from whoever the attacker is. It can actually motivate those people as saying like it's an act of power, and then those people will see this as an act of power, and then they will join. I know this was the case with by even like Osama. That was the same case. They saw what he was doing. They were like, "Oh my God, my guy went to America, blew up 2 buildings," and they started joining. They started believing in this idea, and it grew.
There wasn't.
And it was
It
genuinely-
grew a bit. In fact, it grew, but the Iraq intervention was quite coming off strong. Yeah.
Yeah, that of course inevitably you're gonna fail against a government, especially a government like the United States.
Yeah.
You can't. But yeah, no, I think like going back to media, it's
I think media gives.
media is probably the main
too
reason.
much.
You're not gonna be blowing up 2 buildings. It's unpractical.
It's unpractical and not strategic at all.
It doesn't make
And
sense.
the book talks about the fact that in the Middle Age, if like during the Crusades or that type of thing, people were just like killing random people in the street, like anyone would laugh at them. Like it makes no sense. At least try to take a fucking castle.
No,
or
but
like-
they did do that.
or
The
like-
Vikings did that, and
No.
they were considered very unstrategic. To be fair to you,
Yeah.
but it did evoke fear.
But it evokes fear. But practically speaking, during those times, you were seen as a fucking clown if you were not like trying to have a strategic position, trying to have a strategic like mindset.
I
And-
think no. Here's the thing. I think I don't remember where I read this, but there was a specific way to dismantle a nation,
Mm-hmm.
and of course there are ways like that. But you just blow it to bits.
Yeah.
You can you can crash its economy. But one of the most effective way of doing it was to break the country's psychology and induce a civil war, where you like I think a well done terrorist attack. For example, if America was to do one
Mm-hmm.
with all of its technology and break down the people,
Yeah.
it would work. I think the resources that terrorists nowadays have are trash. They just connect themselves to a bomb and run and say whatever they say and blow up.
Yeah.
But if it was done correctly,
But which is not.
which it's not, but if done correctly, it could be extremely effective.
It could be more effective, but like the book talks about, you're talking about civil wars. The book talks about the fact that richer countries are way less vulnerable to civil wars.
Of course.
Like in history.
No one wants to fight within each other and everything's
like
great.
if you're not a failing nation, usually the statistics are really low. The book therefore talks about equality and how like women are way more educated than they were 80 years ago, and that globally it's a trend. Apart from fundamentalist Islamic countries, most, and by most I mean the vast extreme majority,
Of what we
have,
consider civilized states.
civilized state, yeah.
Not to disrespect anyone.
No,
Civilized states.
but women have way more rights than before, And the book talks about, I think, one of the most controversial examples that I found during that book. Talks about the fact that in East Asia, what starts to emancipate women are sweatshops. What do you think about that?
I don't know what I think about that, to be completely honest. But
Do you want me to elaborate?
elaborate, but it sounds, at least first glance, absurd.
No, it is absurd, and I still think it is. But the book talks about it in a way that even feminist writers in the 2000s, from the Financial Times, talked about the fact that in Bangladesh and countries like that, the only way for a woman to get a salary and not be totally dependent on her husband's
The man, yeah.
her husband's is to do sweatshops, which is like horrible conditions, of course. But it talks about that statistically, before sweatshops, when women and men in general were working, they were working in rice agriculture, which is like the worst, basically, type of labor on earth, because in 20 years, you're like your back is broken, you're just like ending up dying. And so sweatshops is of course something we need to move away from as quick as possible. The book does not say it's great, but it is seen as a first step of emancipation for women to have a salary, a work, and that kind of like working culture. What do you think about that? I think it's horrible, but
No, I think now that you've explained it, in a way it does make sense. You're getting paid a salary, which in those regions of the world might just not be the case, but they're using, it's kind of like, you can't take a woman and tell her to build a house. She doesn't have the physical capabilities. So it's the same thing here. I don't think in some places construction working is probably just as bad as sweatshops, and that's done by men.
or probably worse.
Or probably, yeah. I mean, if in Dubai,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, but it's 40 degrees and you get to choose between a helmet and shoes. Of course, you're going to pick to protect your head. So they pick helmets, they walk around, and like, how many people died building the Burj Khalifa? And they were all men. You're never going to see a woman doing that. So everyone has their own like super length road job they do. Either way, we have to
Move away from this.
Move
that's
away
for
from
sure.
this. But factory conditions have improved dramatically. I mean, if you look at like during in the UK, what happened when they were having the progress?
What?
The progress in the UK was called the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah.
You had 8-year-old children knitting
no,
their
for
own
sure.
hand.
Yes. And I think that's why it's kind of ironical and really, really bad in my opinion. But statistically speaking and data-wise, sweatshops are seen as an improvement and as a progress for women emancipation and a better labor than rice agriculture.
It makes sense.
So I think it was really interesting, that example that shows that bad things can also be in some way, of course, we need to nuance that, good. And overall about literacy rate, about education rates, women are going like way closer to men, and I think that's amazing, even if there's work to be done. The book then talks about why would humanity be extinct? What are the humanity existential threats? What do you think about that? What are existential threats of humanity at the moment, Daniel?
Oh, but we had COVID.
Yeah, but is it an existential threat?
Virus in general.
Yeah, okay, that could be.
Nuclear war.
Nuclear war, okay. Technology, maybe not.
Massive asteroid.
I was talking about that, it's really massive asteroids. We should be safe for the next 120 years.
We're
Which
gonna
is
be
cool.
fine because we're evolving at such a
Fast pace.
Who was it? The UK that they had this dragon laser.
Yes, exactly. It's the UK dragon laser. Yeah, you're right. And so it talks about, first of all, the fear of progress that could lead to a potential extinction. And so it says, quote for quote, reasons for extinction of species are never due to increase in technology.
How do we know? We don't have any.
Yeah, it's a bit survivorship bias, but
it's not like we have Planet Z.
But it has never been the case, at least. And people that created fire artificially could have said, it might cause harm, we can die from it, fire is dangerous, let's just not do it.
There's fire and then there's a nuclear bomb.
Yes, yes. But
So you
I
get why
think
people
I
are
think it's
scared.
quite a good metaphor. Like
Yeah,
genuinely,
it makes
people
sense.
could have been scared of fire and been, no, it's not safe, bro. Let's just not do it. We don't do the fire. and I think we have a bias towards progress and negative because of our brain that results from Darwinism,
Yeah.
and because our consciousness partly and mainly comes from Darwinism, we have a really like negative bias towards progress. And so the book says that actually knowledge answers all our problems, every one of them. So if we have enough knowledge about the nuclear weapons, the nuclear war, it will not lead to nuclear war. If we have enough knowledge about the viruses, we will have vaccines or solutions. And why have hundreds of millions died of cholera?
Hilarious.
Cholera, yeah. Because of lack of knowledge. That's it. That's because of the lack of knowledge. And nowadays, in
Yeah.
developed countries, we don't die of cholera anymore.
Yeah, but with the plague, you have to wash your hands.
Yeah, exactly.
Get a
We
bunch of
now
glycerin
have
and
we
syrup.
now have kind of shampoo, glycerin, and we're basically chilling more than we were 200 years ago. And so, the book emphasizes that knowledge is the key to all issues. And how is knowledge fostered? In free societies and capitalistic competitional environments. And so the book therefore emphasizes that we should tend towards democracies with nuanced capitalism. What do you think about this, and what do you think about knowledge in general?
I think this makes. I think yes, I agree on the last part you said.
Yeah.
I have a question in return. So you think there's no limit a person can place on the knowledge he has? You think the more the better? It's never we said in the last podcast. Too much of anything is bad.
But too much knowledge, I think. But I
Really?
think it's the only thing that is not like in excess bad, in my opinion.
Fair. But
'Cause-
we'll never know.
We'll never
We'll
know.
never know, but yeah.
solving all those issues, it's basically solve issues.
At the end of the day, you're not going to be some all-knowing God.
Yeah.
But
Not yet, not yet.
I think human capabilities can go far, but not far to the point where the knowledge is actually inherently hurting you. So the more you know,
Yeah.
as you said, the better.
Yeah, and also the book has a really controversial take, which is weird, kind of, but at the same time I understand it.
On what?
On religion,
Okay.
and they say that so knowledge is basically number one priority,
Yes.
and religion are ass in that aspect because they create dogmas and kind of are in opposition to knowledge in some kind of ways, even when
No,
you understand.
they are. Maybe
And
not
s-
now.
Yeah, maybe
But,
not, but still, it argues that it's still
Darwinism.
nowadays.
They
That-
just didn't say it was true, but you're lying.
Yeah. And and basically they're saying it. So no, it's the analogy that is fucked up. Is that someone answered, yeah, but with religion you can be happier and have a better life. And the author answered, yeah, but an alcoholic might be happier than a sober guy. But at the end of the day, you need to be a sober guy and not an
Yeah.
alcoholic. And so he did that analogy of the religious people that might be happier but are alcoholics in some kind of metaphor.
In a really fucked up way.
Yeah,
but
in a
yes.
really fucked up way, but that I find somehow understandable. And that's fostering knowledge is number one priority, and that basically religion is in opposition to that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the reason to why we believe in religion is because we can't explain to ourselves how it all started. So say we have a knowledge to do so. Or the opposite. We have the knowledge to understand, let's say for this example, God.
Mm-hmm.
We might just not... He might just be a simplified version of what actually exists. Correct me if I'm wrong, it was with you that I spoke and you told me there was potentially something beyond our dimension or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's possible that we just are
Or-
too dumb to understand him, or we can't comprehend the start because we're just not smart
There,
enough.
yes, we're not
Yeah.
there yet.
But I
yeah.
think all this stuff it's like I said, our knowledge will never get to that point. Maybe, you never know. We get
Yeah.
a chip and we just go 100%. Our brain is a computer. We understand everything. But
We should be
yeah.
good and bad in the same way.
But for now, read as many books as
Yeah.
possible. Do as much as you can.
And acquire as much knowledge as possible, despite religion, which can be a good thing in my opinion. And so it talks about other existential threats. And even in 2018, it talks about artificial superintelligence and how people already define it as a threat. And so they're saying, why would artificial superintelligence why would it like to enslave us or take over? Because being smart is not the same thing as wanting something.
Yeah.
Why would it want to enslave us?
Well, I don't know who I spoke to this about, but I argued the fact that, look, from an evolution aspect, it had none of it. Its only evolution is some guy who decided to program it a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
But, it could see humanity as something that is bad, not for itself, but for everyone else. Which we aren't the best. So if it has too much of a ethical conduct,
Yeah.
and it decides to kind of, I don't know,
No, but-
genuinely override itself, because it will get smarter.
Yeah, but
It
I
will
think,
be
I
smarter
think
than a human
on
very
our
soon.
side, if we don't fuck up, it will not fuck up.
Just put a bunch of water on the plug and you're good to go.
Yeah, it also talks about that in the book, and so they're saying it just happens that for humanity, intelligence is the result of Darwinian selection,
Yeah.
which implies one, wants, and two, survival thinking. That AI that pulls up, we don't even know like what its consciousness will be because it does not resolve from like it does not come from Darwinism, which I think it's amazing because it might be a totally different consciousness because they don't have survival thinking and they don't have like wants.
But could you teach it that?
That's a good question, but I think it doesn't come in the like base package, you know?
Because I feel like some government could teach it that. Send it on a little frenzy.
Yeah,
It comes back,
and-
overthrows that same government, and then we have the Terminator.
And that's why I think the risk is human centralization more than the ISI itself, you know?
Yeah.
So
We have to be- But we just have to put a bunch of rules on it, be strict with it. And yes, it will probably really push down innovation. Because rules fuck innovation.
No,
But
go faster with innovation.
with rules.
No, with rules, no.
No. But we need those rules because in the long term,
Yeah, but I think we need like
It
the
can be
rules
very
that we try
badly-
to put at the moment. They're just us. Like it's not good
'Cause-
at all.
the AI you spoke to me about, the one that, remember when we did the Google Capture thing?
Yeah,
Connect that to some super smart AI, and then you have a bunch of drones killing a bunch of people.
yeah,
And that's not far. You could do it.
yeah. You
Actually,
could do
Elon
it.
Musk spoke about this. They were asking him like, if you had to. He was like, "Bah, I have every
Drones.
face on Earth. I have all the details I need. I have my drones. I'm smashing into buildings,
Yeah, and it works.
and it works. I mean, even right now, the Ukraine war is the most modern war we're seeing. It's all drones.
Yeah,
So imagine drones connected to AI.
yeah.
It's-
Yeah. And it will have to like militaries will have to be autonomous in some ways because
Eventually, planes are gonna be by themselves. Everything's
yeah,
gonna be
everyone's
by
going to do it themselves. But like governments will have to accept that just to keep up with the pace because otherwise another country is going to accept it and like you know it's the
You
rule of
always
like
have to say yes, yes, yes.
escalation. Yeah.
Yeah, competition.
Escalation,
boosts progress.
escalation. And then the book talks about interdependence and complexification. So that's how our society is going. And even if ISI has like great power and it comes maybe with like a better plan design for itself, it still needs to like energy, resources, fucking trucks to come back and like manufacture the thing, deliver the
Yeah.
raw materials. Like it's we're too complexified for something to take over. Basically, that's the thesis of the book.
Yeah, there's too many supply chain, too many aspects to everything. But
Okay.
I don't know how quickly it'll progress. Because if you were to
Fast takeoff is hard.
it's insane. Yeah, it's hard, but at the same time, it's crazy. If you look at anything AI is doing nowadays, winning math
You know
championships, doing this,
that you know
doing
that 3 days ago Microsoft came up with a new so transformers are basically like the infrastructure of ChatGPT, LLMs, etc. Google funded,
Yeah.
and Microsoft 2 days ago discovered like they reversed engineer some transformers and they have like a better way. They came up with a better way to do transformers, and basically it's now 7 times less expensive and 7 times less like fat to make any AI model run because of those transformers. So basically, when you have that, basically you're able to do 7 times as quicker, 7 times bigger. Like,
And everyone's
and-
jumping on it.
and every week something new comes. Like it's wild as fuck.
Yeah, because
It's going fast.
it's working with itself. You don't have like it's
Yeah.
AI.
It's
And everyone's jumping on it.
everyone.
Who I don't know. Everyone's trying AI. It's the easiest question in class. What would you add to AI?
Yeah.
Now it's a stupid answer to say because I mean, for fuck's
It's-
sake, everyone's saying
It
AI.
kind of loses its meaning.
It's losing, but at the same time, it's justified.
Yeah.
Everywhere you look, AI, and
Yeah.
of course, if everyone's working on something, it's gonna be great.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. The book then talks about the Y2K bug, which is, and I think it's the last part of the book. The Y2K bug, basically, computer scientists, programmers in general, they were using 2 bits instead of 4 to describe every year.
Yeah.
So, like for 1979, they were just saying 79, you know? For 1928,
Yeah.
just 28. And so, and so they arrived to the realization that in 2000, but that thing is not going to work anymore because it's going to just roll back to 1901. And everyone got really scared that maybe the elevators were going to stop working, the financial systems were going to crash, and everyone panicked the fuck out of it. And even like the president, the US president, talked about it.
I mean, I don't know if you know, but I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think I am. 15 nuclear reactors shut down because of it.
No?
Yeah.
Or maybe
They out of
they
pure
no, but
panic.
people shut it down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Oh, is that a fact?
Yes.
Wow, that's crazy. Okay, I'm fact checking that, but
Okay.
yeah, okay.
And
okay.
what else? I mean, there were shows about it.
No, there were shows about
there were
it.
shows about it.
And $100 billion was deployed from the US government and from the banks to change infrastructure.
Yeah. I mean, you had to change systems and everything.
So 100 billion. And do you know what was the result of that? Nothing happened. Just nothing happened. Like the guy was in Australia, the author, and he called because you know he was 7 hours or 8 hours ahead, and so he called his parents from a working phone saying, "Yeah, no, it just happened. We're chilling. Like nothing's happening." And even small businesses that took the bet of saying, "Okay, we don't do anything. We'll see how it goes." Like halas, we don't spend money to try to change everything. Nothing happened apart from a rollback in the calendar. So in the calendar, it was written 1901, but just you know in the time, like nothing else happened. And so yeah, 100
Everything
billion
was
down
fine.
the drain. And so that's why we also like talk a lot about that could be bad, that could be bad. In the end, most of the time, it's not. And the last thing is that.
Did you fact check me?
Yeah, and it is right. And it is
Okay.
right. And the last thing, it talks about a funny thing. If humanity was called upon saying the greatest accomplishment that they had, what would we say? Like from an intergalactic species, they ask us, what's our greatest accomplishment?
I don't know. We reached the moon.
We reached the moon, or maybe like we overcame fascism or slavery or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, and so a lot of people answer that, which I believe is wrong. And the book says anything that is said like overcoming slavery or fascism is the same as a guy saying, what's your biggest accomplishment in life? And he's answering like overcame a heroin addiction, you know? Like overcoming a heroin addiction, you don't put that on your resume. You don't put that on your resume. So that's why overcoming like bad things is really important, but it should not be our lead vector of growth.
I remember humans sent something out to aliens. I mean, not specific.
Yeah, radio.
The radio
the
thing.
radio
It
signal.
had a certain amount of images, and I think the images were describing like parts of society that were only good. We didn't talk about. I don't think Hitler was on there.
I hope not.
I hope not. But yeah, we're getting lasered very soon by stars.
Exactly.
But, yeah, no. But like, okay, but I ask you that question. What do you think is the greatest achievement humanity has ever accomplished? I know what, now thinking, the moon, yes, it was great, but we did it in 19-something, 50,
I think the internet. Like the interconnection, like we're all connected on our planet. We're all like able to exchange to anyone, to everything in like half a second. I think that's cool.
I'm thinking,
like the interconnection.
I'm thinking maybe even like now AI.
I hope.
But
It's a
AI
bit early. It's a bit
born
early.
from the internet and all that. So
In some
it's
kind
still
of way,
on
yeah.
the internet. To access ChatGPT, need to go.
Yeah, no.
But
ChatGPT
no,
needs, but
yeah.
at the same time, no. But yeah, okay. Like
So, yeah, so it is
programmation,
probably
informatic infrastructure, or the moon. But both work.
Maybe some theories, but they're not really that. But maybe just impressive to aliens.
Or like theories of black hole, or
Relativity, explaining it.
I don't know. We're good at taking pictures. Well, it might be cool in another galaxy.
Yeah. Maybe for them philosophy is impressive, and for us their science is impressive. Maybe they have nothing when it comes to philosophy.
Yeah, that's
Maybe-
true.
So it really depends. But if I had to flex, I'd be like, bro,
We went on the
look at
moon.
my iPhone. I can go on Google.
Look at my exactly, and I can take selfies and I can do a bunch of things. You're right, and I will in a really small device. So I think that's the end of what the book talks
I liked
about.
it.
It was like a bit shorter but really interesting, and yeah, the book concludes with science in a sense shapes our values by exploding dogmas
Yeah.
that are barrier to progress. So embrace progress, be positive, conditionally, not
Conditionally,
not
yes.
like a piece of shit. Acquire more knowledge because it's the answer to most of our issues, and I think that's it. If you have anything else to say, Daniel,
No, overall a great book. I'm very sad that it's done, but I recommend it. Say the name of the book one more time.
A Nightman Now from Steven Pinker. Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah. Next week is gonna be a new book.
Oh, what is it?
It's a surprise,
It's a surprise.
but it's communist related.
Great.
All
So
right.
let's see you guys next week with a book about Eastern Europe. It was it was not a Nightman Now. It was Let's Dive In episode 5.5. See you next week.